Good morning, all souls. In the place where we love beyond belief, here at the Point, we have agnostics, atheists, and all kinds of seekers who gather in community. No matter what you believe or don't believe, and all that comes in between, you are welcome here, and you are loved. I am the program minister here at All Souls. My name is Reverend Dr. Nicole Kirk, and I'm joined in the chancel this morning, or our stage, by our senior minister, the Reverend Dr. Marlin Lavanhar, and online, our assistant minister, the Reverend Randy Lewis. We are delighted that you are with us here this morning. I want to do a special welcome to those who are online and our Everywhere members this morning and from all around the world. We're glad that you've joined us. If we look a little maybe rough around the edges, some of us here in Tulsa at around 4 a.m., the tornado sirens went off, and many of us were awakened and took shelter from these storms. And so it was an early morning, so we didn't save an hour with the end of daylight savings time here. We spent an hour. We spent an hour. So just if this is your first time here with us, we want you to have an opportunity to get to know us better. If you're a first-time guest, we have a gift for you in our foyer, so please stop by our welcome table. Oh, they're coming down the aisle. Ooh, all right. Even better. If you hold up your hand, if you're a newcomer, first-time visitor, and a gift will come your way, these colorful bags, and also fill out a connect card that's found in the back pew, and drop it in the offering plate when it comes around so we can connect with you and tell you what's going on here at All Souls. So yes, keep your hands up. We have one there in the back still, and the gifts going out. Great, wonderful. And so, welcome. Let us join to sing. I'm so excited to be here this morning. We had a wonderful event last night, and the energy's still with us. Now, let's say our covenant together. The words are printed in your bulletin. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Our chalice is going to be lit this morning by Christy Emig, who is a leader in our Action team. Action brings together communities, congregations, and others who care about Tulsa and care about Oklahoma to do good work. So they're a community organizing organization that we've been a founding member of here at All Souls, and we've been involved, and they're doing some fantastic things. I'm going to talk even a little bit more about it, but thank you, Christy, one of our leaders, for lighting our chalice this morning.
Good morning. We light this chalice this morning as Unitarian Universalists who believe democracy is more than a political system. It is a shared journey, a collective responsibility, and a profound act of faith in one another. May we walk this path with grace, with purpose, and with phenomenal commitment to the common good.
Good morning. I have a story for you today called Ixmucane's Gift. Long, long ago, in the Mayan kingdom of what is today southern Mexico, there lived a princess named Ixmucane. She was the daughter of the great Mayan sun god who warms the earth and brings light to all. When she was born, her father gave her 3 gifts: the ability to see into the souls of others with her kind eyes, the strength to carry the worries of the world, and the wisdom of a sharp mind to solve its problems. As the years went by, the princess grew kinder and stronger and wiser, and the people of the world loved her. And one day the princess heard a young boy crying, and gently she asked, "Why? Why are you crying, little one?" But the boy refused to answer. Ixmucane thought for a moment, and then she asked, "What if instead of speaking out loud, you whisper into my ear?" The child looked up and said, "But my princess, it's too heavy a burden for me to share with anyone." The princess looked directly into the child's eyes and said, "Do you know that my father, the sun god, gifted me with the strength to carry all the world's problems? I am very strong. I know that some problems are very hard to share. Sometimes they involve other people who we might be afraid of. Sometimes we might feel embarrassed or ashamed. Sometimes we cannot control the problem and we feel powerless. Sometimes the problems are secrets that should not be kept but get stuck in our throat, making them hard to say out loud. But I am strong enough to bear them all." So the boy bravely whispered his terrible problem into Ixmucane's ear, and when he was done, she looked at the child with compassion and said, "Cry no more, little one. I will carry this worry for you so that you might feel at peace and rest easy when you go to sleep tonight." And the little boy immediately felt the crushing weight of his problem begin to lift. And that night, the child slept peacefully, just as Ixmucane had promised. And the boy woke the next morning and ran to thank the princess for her generosity. Ixmucane returned the little one's gratitude with a gift, a small, colorful woven doll. And she told the child if he ever felt tired or scared or afraid because of a problem, he only needed to whisper the worry to the doll and place it beneath his pillow while he slept. By doing this, the doll would take on the burden of that worry just as the princess had done, so that the child might find peace and sleep soundly through the night. Word spread quickly of the generous princess and the worry doll, and others approached the princess and whispered in her ear, and they were gifted their own worry doll to bring them comfort. Having found her purpose in life, Ixmucane traveled the world seeking to help all those who were weighted down by sad and fearful thoughts, secrets that needed to be told, problems that needed to be solved. Everywhere she went, she left colorful woven dolls to be slipped under pillows to hold the worries of the world. I invite our children and youth to come to class where we can share our favorite ways of dealing with stress and anxiety. And everyone may pick up their own worry doll, adults too, from the bowls in the back of the sanctuary following the service.
Well, I picked up my worry doll on the way out of the last service. I've got one because everything going on right now in the country and everywhere. I need this. I'm gonna whisper into this little doll, stick it under my bed all week, and you're welcome to pick one up yourself. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but over the last, actually, it's been more than a decade, believe it or not, that we have expanded All Souls beyond Tulsa, Oklahoma, beyond the walls of this place. To all over the country, all across the country and all over the world. In fact, a little bit later, I'm going to introduce 4 people from all 4 parts, north, south, east, and west of the United States who are here with us, Everywhere members who came in for our gala. So I'm going to do that in a moment, but I want to introduce one special person who is going to come forward right now, who's, I think, one of our first virtual members before we even called it the Everywhere program. This is Pauline Farmer, everyone. Please give her a round of applause. She is with us from Annapolis, Maryland, and I've known her for a long time, and she's been a part of this community from 2,000 miles or more away, but very active, and of course she helped us to procure items for our live auction last night for our big gala. So I mean, really diving in as a volunteer and everything. So Pauline, it's a great pleasure to have you with us.
Good morning, everyone. As I said, I'm Pauline Farmer, and yes, I'm one of the very first. I consider myself an OG Everywhere member. It was more than 10 years ago. And this is my 3rd time in Tulsa. And it was great to meet even more people last night at the gala. So my background, I grew up in an atheist and agnostic home from the 2 sides of my parents. But I had a great-grandfather, who was a Lutheran minister. This is the 20s and 30s in the Netherlands. But he was very progressive. He was once asked by a parishioner, "Is there a heaven?" To which he responded, "I don't know. No one's ever sent me a postcard." So, even among the ministers in my family line, I think there's this UU streak coming through here. My journey as a UU started in Ann Arbor, Michigan, where I lived starting in 1996 until 2007. The Ann Arbor, Michigan congregation is very much like Tulsa. It is very large, and it is very diverse in people, in thought, in everything. Then I moved to San Francisco, and I could not find a congregation like that in San Francisco. And I remember having heard about All Souls and that they did an online presence. So we're talking 2011, 2012. And so I joined. And the great part is that I move and I don't have to change congregations. And by moving to the East Coast, church was no longer at 8 a.m. It's also good. So because I did go starting at 8 a.m. on Pacific time. So the online experience, even before COVID, was really great. You're not just watching from a far dot in the back, and there were other programs that were available to us as well. I remember attending a Zoom conversation with Barbara Prose when it was either right before or she was going to walk the way of St. James, or it was talking her experience after she'd done it. I don't recall. I've been able to be involved, you see, and feel a part of this congregation, just like I was a part of my congregation in Ann Arbor. This is actually my 2nd year assisting with the gala, and I'm a member of the stewardship committee. Giving away the offering is an important part of living and walking our talk of love beyond belief. But that means we need these pledges to actually keep the lights on and run the congregation. And there's a lot of operations that go into the offering and making accessible services for people who aren't here, services and programs. And then also the ASL interpreters that we started to have a couple of months ago and here today to make the services accessible to even more people. So for all of that, I have renewed my pledge and in fact increased it over last year. And I would like to ask you all to join me in doing the same.
And I appreciate our ASL interpreters, in fact, are volunteers. So we really appreciate that they bring that and are allowing folks to join our community that would not have access to what we do. So we're so thankful to them. I just want to thank you again, Pauline, and just let you know that we are hoping that folks will get their pledges in. Again, it's not a check. It's just something to let us know in 2025, this is what our household or what I will be able to contribute, whether it's monthly or, however you do it quarterly. But we just appreciate that because, not being people of great, faith that God's going to provide, we actually base our budget on what our members are going to provide. So if you'll let us know, we'll create a great budget and keep these amazing people we have around and keep the lights on and make sure that we're here through potentially one of the most consequential years in the life of this country in a long time. So thank you for all your generosity. The cards were out in Emerson Hall for a few weeks, but if you didn't pick it up, they're now going to go in the mail, so you'll get one in the mail. There's generic cards in your pew bag if you want to just get it done. Also, you can go online and write it out, but we thank you for all your pledges. We could not do this without you.
Before we begin our transitions this morning, I do want to invite our first-time visitors to the Sonnen Library after service out the doors to the left across the foyer, and for them to for a place for you to be greeted, to ask your questions about the church. There's some light refreshments. So please know if you're new or newish that you're invited to the Sonnen Library after service. This is the time in our service when we honor the mystery and complexity of life. We acknowledge that life is never static and that change is the only present thing that is permanent. Yet we do not traverse this path of life alone. We are not alone. We are grateful for being a part of this community to share life's transitions, both joyful and painful. This morning, I'm lifting up Mark and Lucy Conley, who were in a car accident this week. May they feel our love and light as Mark recovers from some broken bones. This morning, we are also lifting up those who were impacted by last night's storms and tornadoes, those without power still this morning, and many assessing the damage. This morning, we are lifting up the daughter of Tara and Nick, Charlie Kleindest, who's having eye surgery. So their daughter's having, Nick and Tara's daughter, Charlie, is having eye surgery tomorrow after a week in the hospital fighting an eye infection. And this morning, lifting up all of those who participated, organized, and contributed to our gala for All Souls last night. May we each find the strength we need in the hour that we need it most. As we enter into this moment of silence, let us continue to hold each other in our thoughts and our intentions.
In 1970, Joni Mitchell had an idea. She asked, "Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone?" She wrote a song that became a classic, beloved. That version is not what you're going to hear this morning. And we also, I really do thank our accompanist, Catherine Thomas. Thanks for being here with us this morning.
Beautiful, Rick. Thank you. And chamber choir. Truly prophetic words from Joni Mitchell. Really, we don't know what we've got till it's gone. And I hope that at the end of this week, our democracy isn't gone, to be honest with you. I know there's lots of fear. I could already feel in the space here that, and hopefully those at home, but I could feel our nervous systems kind of coming down from where we first entered this morning with anxiety, election anxiety, with some of us tornado siren anxiety, and whatever else is going on in your life. The poet Rumi said, "Fear is the cheapest room in the house. I'd like to see you in better living conditions." Now, I don't know about you, but for me, it feels like the whole country is on edge, and I'm on edge. Usually when I have fears, they arise in the middle of the night. That's why I appreciated these worry dolls and that story that Shannon told us, because that's when I need it. At night, when it's dark, I've got nobody to call because everybody's sleeping, and I've got nothing to distract me visually and other things. That's when my anxiety, that's when my fear usually starts to come at me, and it grows if I let it. I'm kind of a sitting duck at night. And I remember as a kid, I used to worry about, I had this fear of an alligator underneath my bed in the middle of the night. Sometimes it was a gorilla. I don't know if you remember what you feared coming out of your closet or whatever that was. But now, the alligator is fear of the future that keeps me up, or fear for our democracy, or at other times when it doesn't feel like the world is at the brink, I fear something happening to one of my children or to my parents, or fear a diagnosis, or fear losing my livelihood, or not being able to support my family, or losing my mind. I fear losing the fight against climate change, or of a mass shooting, or fear of not being here anymore. Part of the human condition is that the future is uncertain. Not just on a week when there's a big election, but all the time. The state of our lives is a state of uncertainty about the future. Christina Groff writes, "For many people, the most prominent motivating force in their life is fear. Many of us feel it daily. It may show up in small ways throughout our everyday life. We feel afraid of failing at our job, or being abandoned in a relationship, or an overwhelming anxiety might just immobilize us as we think about our own mortality, or fear of potential harm that could come to us through violence. We may feel a free-floating terror and we don't even know where it comes from." So I'm going to talk today about how we can respond in a healthy way to the fear and the uncertainty that pervades our nation right now and pervades many of us right now as this election for the U.S. presidency draws near. But it also applies to the general state of uncertainty and fear that's a common part of the human condition. Because the election's going to be over soon, but our fears will not go away. Before I jump into some of the specific ways that I think we should respond to this moment, I want to just say a bit about where we are. I think the first step in dealing with fear is to recognize what's going on. Author and civil rights advocate John Whitehead wrote, "We're being fed a constant diet of fear. Fear of terrorists, fear of illegal immigrants, fear of people who are too religious, fear of people who are not religious enough, fear of Muslims, fear of extremists, fear of the government, fear of those who fear the government." The list goes on and on. The strategy is simple and effective. The best way to control a populace is through fear and discord. Fear makes people stupid. Confound them, distract them with mindless news chatter and entertainment, pit them against one another by turning minor disagreements into major skirmishes, and tie them up in knots over matters lacking in real national significance. Most importantly, divide the people into factions. Persuade them to see each other as the enemy, and keep them screaming at each other so that they drown out all other sounds. In this way, they will never reach consensus about anything and will be too distracted to notice. This is how free people enslave themselves and how tyrants prevail. End quote. Now, in religious history, we've seen many examples of one side or one religion fearing all others. Right? Look at the Crusades, where Christians killed large numbers of Muslims and Jews in a mistaken idea that they did not just have a different worldview, but they felt they had an evil worldview, a dangerous worldview, and they needed to be destroyed. Today, the same impulse is at play in a less violent way, causing people to cancel one another. We can see one side as being so bad that they're not even worth listening to, not even worth talking to. But here's what I've learned from a leadership trainer that I've worked with in the past and had a chance to be part of a large conversation with him. His name is Rand Stagen. He's out of Dallas, and he talks about the necessity of polarities, light and dark, left and right, conservative and liberal or progressive, grievance and gratitude, cooperation and competition, thesis and antithesis. Right? These are polarities, and they need each other. They exist in a dynamic tension with one another. I want to focus today on the political polarization that we're dealing with. And I've asked them to project a cartoon that I drew. You know, I'm a cartoonist. I love to draw cartoons to make sense of the world. And this is one that I drew for those who, let me just describe it so that everybody can see it. And that is that you have one person with a MAGA hat, red MAGA hat, and another person with a camouflaged Harris Walls hat. And they are in a game of tug of war with an American flag on top of a plank which is balancing on top of the Washington Monument. And if you look at this closely, you can see that the dynamic is that if any one actually wins and is able to pull the other one off, they're both going to fall. There's no way that half of this country is going to self-deport. It's just not going to happen. If we are going to have a democracy, then we are going to have to figure out how to live together and make this work. It's not really that we're in jeopardy of losing our democracy as much as this is what democracy looks like. And we have to deal with it seriously and not just run from it in fear or stick our head in the ground. So here's the thing. Each side, conservatives and progressives, conservatism and progressivism or liberalism, have both, just like each one of us, light and shadow. And here's the problem, is that when we, on whichever side you're on, look at the other side, we focus on the shadow. And that's why everyone's like, well, no, my TV station gives real news. I know it's real because everything they say, I can back it up with facts. Yeah, because you're looking only at the shadow side. It is real, but it's only a part of the larger story of what conservatism or liberalism or progressivism bring forward. So when conservatives, they focus on the progressives' shadow and vice versa. So if you watch Fox News, they highlight all the worst parts of the progressive agenda, all the extreme examples of things that are going on in the politics, and in the progressive politics, and they'll exaggerate it. And if you're watching Fox, that's what you see and think about progressive politics. It's bad, it's dark, it's dangerous, it's mistaken, it's crazy. Look at this crazy stuff they're doing. And the same thing happens on MSNBC in reverse. Neither side spends time honestly considering the strengths of the other side. So Rand Stagen summarizes the underlying values of each side, looking at the best, looking at the light of each side, what is driving and motivating. Conservatives, he says, the right primarily is interested in preserving what is good about America, whereas the left is interested in fixing what is wrong with America. Both impulses come from a valuable idea, and both have something of value to add to the picture. Ultimately, if you think about it, we all want to preserve what is good about America and fix what is wrong with America. If I asked you to raise your hands, if I was in a mixed group of people, everybody would say, yeah, I want to do both. But each one has its focus, and the problem is that we all want that, but we disagree about the details. As they say, the devil is in the details. But if we're going to find a higher ground in which we can all stand together and be Americans, stand together and be members of one congregation, stand together and be members of the same neighborhood, the same workplace, the same family, then instead of breaking up into separate camps and enemies and opposition, we need to be willing to see not only the shadow of the other side, but also its strengths. And we have to see our own side's shadow as well. Otherwise, we'll mistakenly believe, like the crusaders of the past, that the other side is all bad. There's nothing good there. We need to eliminate them. We need to destroy them, cancel them. And that's the only option if there's no light at all. And that's the way it's often presented because we're focused so much on the shadow of each other's positions. So I believe there is a way that we can stand firmly in our own values, in our own convictions, in our own politics, but do so at the same time and not making the other side a demon or a caricature of itself. Conservative politicians have been winning elections all over the world, quite frankly, by speaking to people's fears, especially their fears that the changes that are happening in our modern society are eliminating the old ways of life that many people love. Our societies are changing so rapidly, and many people, understandably, fear the changes. It's not the way it was when I was young. This is different. Everything seems different. People are feeling uneasy. They're feeling lost. They're feeling left behind. They're feeling like they are longing for a simpler, better times that they seem to remember in our country. Now, according to commentator Fareed Zakaria, who wrote in his recent book called The Age of Revolutions, he writes, some scholars have found that underneath much of the populist rage in the West lie fears among an older, whiter population of a looming demographic transformation of the country, a quote-unquote great replacement. Many of our recent demagogues have used rhetoric and advocated policies that exploit these anxieties and fears. But it would be a mistake, he says, to explain all of such reactions as merely racism. There is a broader uneasiness about a changing world, a loss of certainty, and a collapse of community. This malaise requires serious thought and thoughtful response. Even among white working class Americans, there is a feeling of alienation. In a 2016 survey that he states, nearly half of them, white working class folks, agreed with this statement. Things have changed so much that I often feel like a stranger in my own country. Now, when you have millions of people saying that they feel like a stranger in their own country, you need to take it seriously. Right or wrong, these people fear that the pace of change and the kinds of changes that we're experiencing are leading to a loss of what they feel is good about America. Now, you and I may have a different experience, but it doesn't discount the way that they feel. And it won't go away by canceling them or calling them racist. And it won't go away due to an election, regardless of who wins. If we don't deal with these feelings in our fellow Americans constructively and honestly, it's going to tear us apart. But many progressives will point only to the shadow of conservatism. I get it. The dark side of keeping things the way they were is that the way things were traditionally were unarguably racist, sexist, and homophobic. They will point to the fact that neo-Nazis and the modern KKK and militias all support the Republican candidate. They will point to the threads of anti-intellectualism in the party. And for many of us, that's more than enough to cause us not to associate with or support conservatism. That is a very valid response. However, if we stop there, we will stay divided. Instead, let us stay curious. Really wonder why your neighbor, your coworker, and relative is voting in a different way than you. If you're progressive, why are they voting conservative? Because if you just assume that they're racist, sexist, and homophobic, and that's it, you could be right. But you could be wrong. And it is a dangerous idea to discount and dismiss half of the country. Now, I'm not trying to change the way any progressives vote, God forbid. I'm merely trying to change the way a progressive views conservatives so that we could see there is some light as well as shadow. And the same in reverse. Conservatives are wrong when they define everyone who votes Democratic as wanting socialism and open borders and lots of regulations and a weak military and are against capitalism, and they want to cancel everybody who disagrees with them. Are there factions in the progressive movement that advocate for these things? Yes, there are. That is a shadow. There are folks who are advocating strongly for that, and that's what conservative media are picking up and defining as the whole picture. And they don't see all the amazing, brilliant things that progressives and liberalism have brought into America and what we know and the life we live and the freedoms we have. So I have some deep commitments. I refuse to fear half of the country. And I refuse to fear the future. Is that because there aren't any bad, dangerous people? No. Is that because I expect that the future will be all sunshine and rainbows? No. I reject these fears because they limit our ability to think clearly and to love fully. Parker Palmer wrote, "We have places of fear inside of us, but we have other places as well. Places with names like trust and hope and faith. We can choose to lead from one of those places, to stand on ground that is not riddled with the fault lines of fear. To move towards others from places of promise instead of anxiety. As we stand in one of those places, fear may still remain close at hand, and our spirits may still tremble. But now we stand on ground that will support us. Ground from which we can lead others towards a more trustworthy and a more hopeful and a more faithful way of being in the world." Now, hope has its place. But to me, the stronger of these is trust and faith, which is a derivative, of trust. Hope is usually hope for something good to happen, right? I hope this happens. I hope this person wins. I hope this is what's next. There's usually a specific good at the end of our hope. And I had a professor once who said he was a prisoner of hope. He's just always going to hope and try to stay hopeful. And I feel that way. However, in an uncertain world like ours, everything that happens is not good. It's not going to be good. Everything that comes. So I don't live with hope of a positive future. I live with a trust and even a faith that whatever happens next, that we have enough love and enough strength to make it through. I want to share a story from Rabbi David Volpe about a traveling rabbi minstrel named Shlomo Kalbach, who traveled to Eastern Europe after the collapse of the Soviet Union to sing and to pray and to dance with the Jews and try to inspire them. Now, unlike many places that he visited, in one small town, the people closed their doors in his face. No one wanted anything to do with him, this jolly, singing, dancing rabbi. But there was one older man who greeted him with openness. Rabbi Kalbach told the man that he understood why the people in this town met him with anger and with suspicion. They'd suffered great devastation during the Holocaust and at the hands of the communists. But what he was curious about was why this man, among all the people in the town, was so welcoming and so loving. The man smiled and he explained, I can tell you the exact moment when it happened. He said that he'd lived in that small town all of his life, and one night, when he was a young boy, before the First World War, there was a rumor of a pogrom coming to town. They were told that the Cossacks were coming to loot, pillage, and destroy their town. So all of the children were gathered, and they were brought to the rabbi's home for protection. And now it was wintertime, and in every room in the rabbi's house, there were children sleeping on the floor. He remembered how the rabbi spent the entire night pacing back and forth. The man could remember how he was pretending to be asleep, curled up on the floor in the rabbi's study. But he was really cold, and he was unable to sleep. And the rabbi came up behind him, taking his cloak off of his shoulders, and he placed it over him. And he said, good child, sweet child. You know, said the man, the Rabbi Kalbach, it's been 75 years since the rabbi spread his coat on me, but it still keeps me warm. Rabbi Volpe explained that in the midst of loss, in the cold night with the threat of destruction hanging over them, the rabbi made a gesture of love. For the rest of the child's life, he was different. Because he knew that fear and pain and even loss were possible, but they were not all there is. Because he knew that we cannot escape change or trouble, but we can help one another to keep warm in the midst of whatever comes. So whatever happens this week in the election or in its aftermath, we will be here. All Souls has gathered a community of loving people for more than a century in this town. People have been coming to this community to keep each other warm through the Depression, through after Pearl Harbor, through World War II, through Vietnam, the fight for civil rights, LGBTQ rights, after 9/11, in the aftermath of the Oklahoma City bombing. I can't tell you what's going to happen this week across America and even in our own city, but I can tell you that we will be here to support each other and to continue to advocate for the values and the freedoms and all the things that we care about most. Now, here's a commitment you can make in the coming week, in the coming weeks, no matter what happens. I was listening to Emil Handelsman's podcast, How My View Grew. And he said, what he's doing in response to the anxiety about the election, his response is to do his best to stay in a constructive mood, to avoid despair and guilt and resentment as a sustained mood. I mean, he acknowledges we're going to feel those things. It's likely some of those moods are going to come, but the point is not to stick with it, to allow ourselves, not to push it away though, not to just immediately, oh no, I'm feeling that, I can't feel that, I got to stop feeling that. Not like that. The idea is that you recognize, oh, I'm feeling pretty anxious right now, or despair. I'm feeling a lot of despair right now, or loneliness. And when you feel it, recognize it, allow it to be there. Okay, I got it. I see. I'm recognizing it. I'm not trying to push you away. I'm recognizing it. Investigate it. Where's it coming from? Is it Where do I feel it in my body? Where is it, and what is it? Where is it coming from? And investigate it a little bit. And it's about the election. Oh, it's about my marriage. Oh, it's about this or that. And then nurture yourself around that place. Care for yourself. Do what you do. Breathe, do yoga, take a walk, smoke your pipe, whatever you do. To stay calm and nurture yourself. Tobacco pot. I was talking tobacco pot. But so the idea is you can't just push it away, but you can allow it, recognize it, and then nurture yourself so that you can keep yourself in a constructive mood, because our moods are contagious, and the people around us catch, our children and our grandchildren and our neighbors and coworkers catch our moods. So commit to staying constructive, and when you can't, lean into somebody who is, and do your part to be a constructive player. And then also use your strengths to help others, because that's what it is. Like the rabbi, put your cloak on somebody. Do an act of love, because those acts will sustain people not only through this time, but will change them forever. Because when in the midst of difficulty, somebody does an act of love and care, it leaves an impression. So I want us to work to find a higher ground, as Rand Stagen talks about, so that we see both the light and the shadow in ourselves and in others and others' positions and in our politics, so that we have a healthier relationship with the polarities that exist in all aspects of our lives. As my colleague Wayne Arneson said, the way is often hard, the path is never clear, and the stakes are very high. Take courage, for deep down there is another truth. You are not alone. I love you. Go vote. Blessed be. Thank you, Rick. That helped. That helped. Last night we had the All Souls Gala. It's something we do once a year to raise some money to do the good works, both inside but also outside of our walls. We raised a bunch of money for our justice teams. It was really successful. I want to thank everybody who was involved. You could see the names of the sponsors in here and the folks who gave auction items. We're just so thankful. We couldn't do it without you. I believe we raised gross. I don't know what the exact expenses, but gross, I understand we raised over $150,000 last night. It's amazing, amazing. So thank you. And I want to thank three people in particular who are with us from around the country. You met Pauline a few minutes ago, who gave us a great speech to inspire us to give to the congregation. Pauline not only works on that team from Maryland, but the chair of our gala is Jenny Halliday, who lives in Houston, and she's with us today. Thank you. You did a great job. We could not have done it without you. You were the best. And then Jeannie Lee, who's here from Minnesota as well, so from North. It's so great to have you. She helped us immensely. She's also on our board of trustees. She's our first Everywhere member on our board of trustees. So we're just so glad. I mean, think about this. We also had another Everywhere member from California here for the gala and in the first service. So we had California, we had Maryland, Minnesota, Houston. So all 4 directions, people coming in, and helped us raise $150,000 for All Souls. So, I mean, we can't thank you enough. And anyone who questions our All Souls Everywhere program and putting it out there on the internet, I think we can rest assured it's a good idea, and it helps not only other people in other places, but also comes back, and the love comes back directly to us. So we're so thankful for all of you for being here. And we honored the one and only Rick Fortner for 25 years of music to All Souls. Yes, yes. Thank you, Rick. Yes, our beloved Rick Fortner. And so I just want to say that if you want to join All Souls, if maybe you've been coming for a while and you're ready to join or want to learn more about joining, today at 12:45 in just about 15 minutes, just enough time to grab a cup of coffee in Emerson Hall and head up there. We have a joining class, or it's just a short time to tell you a little bit about what it means. And if you want to sign up, or just take some information. But if you're ready to, one of my colleagues says, if you're ready to take off your bib and put on an apron and help us serve the world, please join, and we'd love to have you be a part of what we do here at All Souls. Speaking of that, we give away our offering every week to causes we believe in. Today's offering is going to go to Action. Action is a community organizing group that we are a original member of, which organizes the religious community in Tulsa to push for good legislation. So what they've done recently is Action has held listening sessions, accountability sessions with all the mayoral candidates, with all the school board candidates, and said, when you get in, are you going to do this? And if you do, we're going to hold you accountable. So they've done that, and now the next step will be when they get elected next week to now start holding them accountable. So your gifts today for Action will go to help with this organizing around Tulsa and Oklahoma to hold our representatives accountable to what they said they're going to do for the homeless, for housing, and for schools and other things. So please give generously. Also at 1:30 today, you'll see and hear the information. Action is having, if you want to learn more about how to become a part of Action and see what they're doing, you can become a part of it at 1:30 today. Also, there's lots of great things going on. You'll see coming up this week, the Crystal Knock program. If you want to learn ASL for everyone, we're going to start weekly classes so we can all learn American Sign Language. That's going to be starting this Wednesday night and continue after that on, is it Wednesday or Thursday nights, I think? Thursday night, November 7th. And so look in here, lots of great things going on. But right now, we're going to receive our offering for Action. Please give generously.
are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. If you want to join in with the song, you can. Humanists can sing a little bit, can't they? My son, let's just try it. You are my sunshine. You. Thank you. You make me happy when skies. You sound terrific. Please don't take. One more time. Here we go. One more time. You are my sunshine. That's it. How much I love you. Well, thank you.
Well, this little piece of sunshine we have here, it's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere.
That's right.
Because you don't know what you've got till it's gone.
That's
But we know what we've got right here at All
That's
Souls.
right.
And we're so glad that you chose to be with us today. And I just want to say, whatever happens this week, I'll see you back here next Sunday. All right? Go and be loved and be loving.